Hello everyone, welcome to chapter 1 where we will be discussing the human organism. Well, let's get started here. So one question here is you should be asking yourself, what is the purpose of the human body? Well, you can pause here for a little bit, think about it, and answer the question. So the textbook answer, or at least for our textbook, it's the structures in the human body work together or in concert to maintain homeostasis, right? Which is to balance the body's internal environment, to maintain a constant, stasis, state, as the Greek would state. So this overview on the right is what we'll be covering throughout the entire school year. We're not going to be cramming all of this in one semester, right? That would just be too much unless you're going to medical school, and then you'll learn it all in probably 6 weeks. But we're not going to do that. So we're going to spread it out over 2 semesters. We have the nervous system, endocrine system, which is our hormonal system, respiratory breathing system, our cardiovascular and lymphatic system, which carries fluids. Cardiovascular carries our blood. Lymphatic system carries immune cells and other sort of immune related materials. We have our skeletal system and muscular system, which provides locomotion. We have urinary system, right, which is a form of filtration for particulates in our blood. Then we have our digestive system, which it's digesting food, right, both part of the liver is part of that, our colons, our small intestines, and so forth. We'll have our reproductive system, right? Humans need to reproduce, and male and female have different anatomy related to that. So we'll be discussing that. That should be in the next semester here in the spring. And we have our integumentary system. I always have issues pronouncing that, so don't feel bad. Hopefully you can spell it though, all right? But that's our skin. So that's kind of overview of what we'll be discussing throughout this whole textbook. So the textbook will be going through every single chapter in the textbook. So by the end of the school year, by the end of the freshman year, you will have covered and finished the complete textbook, which will be an amazing feat for you guys. So I'm excited. So anatomy and physiology, this class will teach both together. There are some times you can separate and teach anatomy and then physiology. I think it's easier to understand when we teach them together. So in terms of what do we mean by that, anatomy is really just the discipline investigating the body structure. So it's really just a memorization of physical features, names, locations, structure types, and so forth. There's nothing to do with how it's functioning, right? Because when we get into how something is functioning, then we're talking about physiology. So that's the difference here between anatomy and physiology is anatomy, rote memorization of structures, locations, and what they look like, right? Physiology, it's the more nitty-gritty details of how does something function, how do cells work, how do organ systems work, how does everything communicate and work together to make you. So we'll be combining these. So in terms of anatomy, there's some topics here. So there's gross structures, which then can be broken down into regional. So we study by area, thoracic cavity, cranial cavity, that sort of thing, external limbs. We have systematic, so by system, such as reproductive system, nervous system. And then, of course, there's the surface system, which is we kind of like go from the inside out from a specific location. Now, structures, they can also require microscope. So in terms of anatomy, there's cytology, which is cellular anatomy. This is like the organelles of a cell, which we'll learn later on in the next coming chapters. But those are. Then there's histology, which is a kind of microscopic study of tissues, of their anatomy and their physiology, which uses a lot of stains, and you can even use CT scanning machines called micro CTs to do histology. So basically mini X-ray machines. Those are pretty fun. We use them with mice all the time. But anatomy, again, we're focusing more on just gross structures, not really function of them. Now in physiology, right, we're really interested in how do all of these systems interact with one another. How does cells in those systems respond to stimuli? This could be external, this could be internal. But all of this is to say we want to understand how our organ systems and cells maintain a stable environment, right? Homeostasis, right? Because as humans, we're changing our environment that we're in, both, internally because of like psychological effects, or externally, right? It could be Oklahoma, you'll learn. It could be snowing one day, raining the next, and blazing hot the third day, right? Those are quickly changing environments. How does your body maintain, say, body temperature when you go from 0 degrees Fahrenheit to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, right? Those are big changes, especially when they have the AC kicked down real low in chapel. It's kind of a shock when you walk out in the summer heat, which you'll learn, but you'll survive because your body's great at maintaining homeostasis. So there's cell physiology. So this is really just focusing in on the cells themselves. There's a lot of cells in that statement, but I have an interesting sense of humor, so you guys will hopefully like to learn it. Have fun with it. So there's cell physiology. So how do cells work themselves? Myself as a biomedical engineer, I really care about cell physiology myself because it affects systematic physiology, which is all of our organ systems. So like neurophysiology, how do nerves work? How do nerves communicate? Cardiovascular physiology, how do the hearts and blood vessels work together to transport blood throughout the rest of the body to, supply life for ourselves. So there's a kind of two main approaches for physiology. So in terms of structural and function organization, we'll leave that for the next video set because we're kind of breaking off here into what structure and function is. So you can think about this question, but then jump over to the next video, and I'll see you in the next video.